You're listening to the Energy is Love podcast.
I mean, I'm good.
You're good.
And
You're great.
oh my goodness, my nose started itching. It's really hot up here.
I know.
How are you doing?
It is summertime.
It is summertime.
I have elected to shut the ceiling fan off
Yeah.
for this episode.
Did you leave the AC on?
Yes.
Yes.
But as you well know from living in this house as long as I have, that does little to nothing upstairs.
It does. It does. I made the decision to wear pants instead of shorts. So
That was a brilliant
Right.
idea on your part.
I could rectify that right now.
Do
I mean,
it.
I don't have shorts, but I can fix the
Just
pants.
take them off right now,
It'll be
baby.
fine. It'll be fine.
So, are
Okay.
you looking through your notes?
Sorry. I did notes earlier, but it was stuff that it was stuff that's like interesting me. And I thought, well, maybe we'll work that in. And so yeah, I was looking at my notes, but they're not necessarily the notes.
Do you remember you said you had stuff you wanted to talk to me about my throat chakra?
Yeah, gee, I don't think you just want to start with that.
I want to start with that, baby. Hit me. Hit
Are
me
you
with your
serious?
best shot.
Okay.
Fire away.
Well, it might be vulnerable for you too. So like,
Oh shit, we don't do that on this podcast.
I mean, well, right out of the gate, like,
what a,
sit down. It's time to be vulnerable.
relax. Should I do my guided meditation voice?
It was just something cool that I didn't know was a connection. And so as soon as I found out it was a connection, it was like, oh, like diving into this because I don't have like, so we're just gonna go with the fifth chakra, the throat chakra.
Yeah.
Okay. So mine is very deficient. And so learning that this is one of the, I couldn't even fathom that choices came from your throat chakra.
Oh.
Right? That the choices that you make, your ability to see your truth, I knew, like speak your truth, but to have that, so you have your choices that come from there, and the choices that you make, the decisions that you make are stemming from a healthy throat chakra or an unhealthy throat chakra, deficient or excessive.
Okay.
And so I was like, excuse me, hold on. What does choices have to do with what I say?
Right.
Right. So I had to it's kind of, it makes sense. But for me, my brain was like, no, that's where you're wrong. And so I had to go like really diving into it. And then it makes sense because when you know your truth and you speak your truth, that's how you choose. That's
Right,
the
it's
decisions.
easy.
And they're like, oh my gosh, it totally is. When you feel like you can't make it, what happens? You sit back. I hold my throat a lot. I hold my jaw a lot. And it's just like, I feel like silenced, and so I can like in my mandible will start hurting.
Is that season 4 of The Mandalorian?
Right. My jawbone will literally start. So I hold my jaw because it, I get physical pain there. And, so I was really interested because you have a mantra, and I won't make you share your mantra. You can.
I can share it.
Okay. Okay. So in the book,
Hold on, baby. I just have to think of it.
I didn't think you wanted to.
Give me a minute. I just have to get it. It's a new mantra that I'm practicing, and I have to be perfect. Otherwise, if I'm not perfect, then I'm a complete failure. And I'm working on that as well, people. So please, I understand. My mantra is, I'm safe. I'm secure. There's nothing. Shit. Hold on.
I can help.
I can't receive help
Okay.
in this space. I'm safe. I'm secure. There's nothing threatening my survival.
Boom.
Yes. That's my mantra.
And so the beauty of that in itself is just, I love that mantra. But what you have something that comes up when you say that, what's one of your triggers? What do you notice yourself doing that is your message to yourself to pause, take notice, and then say your mantra?
Nothing.
Okay.
I'm teasing. No, we can talk about it. So it's criticism. It's like the criticism and judgment that I have in regards to the outside world.
Yeah.
Yes,
Do you see how that would apply also to yourself?
I do.
Okay. When you're ready, right? So the criticism, the judgment, and you said earlier, because you had talked about like how focused you are on your root chakra,
Yeah.
and what comes next, and you have to start at the bottom, work your way up. But when you had asked that question about it jumping around, the book that you're reading, you're on your fifth chakra. but you said I'm at the 5th chakra, or I'm on the 5th chakra. And like everything came through because I was already thinking of you with the throat chakra.
Okay.
Because it is also where you criticize and where you judge. So that is your throat chakra. Criticism and judgment comes from that for yourself and others. And so you have like literally developed a mantra to help heal that, which is also like working with your 5th, which of course is safety in your root as well. But that is really, and you're like, I'm on my 5th chakra. Like, yeah, you are. I was going to talk to you about that. I'm just like, you're like instinctively, that's where you need to be next, because that's where you're working on. And it was just really, really
Right.
beautiful.
The 5th is connected, I think, to the 2nd. Like if you have a deficient 2nd, I think you typically will have a excessive 5th, but I could be wrong on that.
We can go get the book for reference.
No,
Do you
that's
want me to run
okay.
down?
No, it'll take us 20 minutes to get the book and then another 20 minutes to find the reference in the book.
I feel like judgment.
First
Maybe
off,
you
what's
should.
the book?
Oh, I can tell you who wrote it. Anadea Judith.
Do you remember the name of it?
But it's it's Eastern something for the Western mind, or Eastern mind for the Western shit. I don't know what the book is. It's all right. You'll find
okay.
it. It's by Anadea Judith.
Yes.
So
The book that we're reading that we highly, highly, highly recommend. We are reading it in conjunction with our yoga training. It is Eastern Body, Western Mind.
there it is.
Psychology and the Chakra System as a Path to the Self. Anodea Judith. So yeah, highly recommended.
Yes.
It is helping us immensely. And Craig's throat chakra.
All the chakras. All the chakras.
So yeah,
Chakra
criticism
con.
and judgment. It's actually what I wanted to talk about too on the podcast. So it's funny that you're like, hey, I want to talk about your throat chakra. It's incredibly excessive. Mine is my protector. Mine is my throat chakra is the thing that I have used, right, the majority of my life to insulate and protect. That criticism and judgment, I didn't realize that was connected to the throat.
I didn't either.
I thought a lot of it was going to be, I mean, a lot of it is root, right? But, so I got to slow down a little bit. I'm going a little fast. We've had an interesting day leading up into this episode. And we were supposed to record in the morning, and now it's later on in the afternoon. And you and I have had one of our really random squirrely days where it's hard for us to stay, like, not just sit still, but keep our heads on straight. And so that's why I'm going a little bit fast.
Mm-hmm.
However, I want to slow down because I want to talk about this.
Okay.
So it is important to me. Are you going to keep doing that throughout the episode?
Yeah, you're probably going to have to just accept that.
Okay.
I'm going to do my best not to, but
Okay.
just let you know right now, this is probably not something that's going to.
Okay.
Okay.
Criticism and judgment. It is my go-to way of viewing the world. So you mentioned just briefly earlier that, oh, that's going to be beneficial for the internal criticism and judgment first, right?
Uh-huh.
However,
I didn't say first. I just say as well.
as well.
As well. Also.
Yeah. So
In
my
conjunction with.
my first line of defense for protection
Uh-huh.
is external criticism and judgment. So I view everything externally.
Mm-hmm.
So it has nothing to do with me, or so I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it has nothing to do with me, and I just see the world around me. And that's how I project, and that's how I protect myself.
Keeping your surroundings, your environment safe. So you're judging, sizing up the environment around you.
So that's like the foundation of why that coping mechanism started,
Okay.
right?
Well, why would we go there?
Because it's good to understand that. And I understand that that's why the foundation, I understand that that's where it started. But that's not what it's doing now.
What's it doing?
I mean, the truth is that is what it's doing now. But it doesn't need to do that any longer,
There's a difference.
right?
A discernment.
That's the thing, is that projection and that criticism and judgment of the external world around me. And that's everything, folks. That's just everything. I can't even think of everything, and that's what I criticize and I judge. And it does originate from the need to be able to discern whether or not I am safe and what's happening around me, if this is safe for me or not. But then over the years, it just has continued to keep me safe by judging everybody and looking at everybody through this lens of better than or less than, or, I mean, it's so, I have a lot of shame about it.
Yeah.
Because it's just such a shitty thing. It's like such a shitty trait I feel like I overly criticize and judge.
Yeah.
And I've started to become aware of it in the last few months.
Yeah.
And now I'm drawing attention to it and bringing awareness to it in regards to my root chakra, turns out my throat as well, and how much of it is linked to my survival. And I know and I understand, like you said, from the beginning of where it started, but subconsciously I don't realize that. I mean, okay. I don't have subconscious awareness that I'm safe today. So there's a part of my subconscious that still thinks that it is in danger and threatened and is assessing risks all around and protecting itself by doing so. So now when I catch myself criticizing or judging something, I go to that mantra. I'm safe, I'm secure. There's nothing threatening my survival. That's it, huh?
Yeah, you got it.
Did I? I can't even trust if I got it. See, I'm just a wreck lately.
I'm doing really good.
There's nothing threatening my survival. So I have to do it all the time because it turns out I'm very judgmental and I'm very critical of the world around me. And I don't want to be that way anymore.
Yeah.
I see how detrimental it has been to me, and I see how it's kept me isolated from people. I see how it's also, like you said, internalized, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the first step for me is this outward awareness of it, because that's how it shows up first and foremost. And then I have to eventually get to that point where I turn it internal and start looking at it internally, but I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah.
So like I can I'm starting to recognize that externally, the external practice of seeing where I criticize and judge things, but I can't quite grasp the internal, even though it might seem really obvious to somebody that's married to me.
I have a question for you.
Let's hear it.
So aside from the fact that we're talking about, from making sure your environment is safe and like that being a factor of it, and then also it being learned behavior, like that's how you were taught.
Correct.
To move, like that is your programming.
Yeah, that was one that was given to me from birth.
So you have those two. What would happen? Oh, are you scrambling my brain? Did you just Jedi mind me?
I might have.
Like, don't fucking ask that question, because I'm like,
have.
hold on, let's see if I can get it back. Damn. Don't do that. Stop. No, like this isn't going to be a good one if you keep. I'm learning how to open my throat. I can talk.
Okay. Your question is?
Hold on.
Tacos.
That's not helping. Okay, come back. It was along the lines. I don't have the same verbiage. It's along the lines of along the lies. Because it's about what fuck. Maybe it'll come back. I'm sorry.
Oh no, is it gone?
It's so gone. That really sucks. That's all right.
I've got it from birth.
Uh-huh.
Right? It's a really early program that was given to me.
Yeah. That was my way of like, that wasn't like the question. It was like, I didn't, like, that was my, yes, we can't use these as a factor for this question. We understand this. It was like, here we have this, we understand. So now here's the question that you can't answer with either of these twos.
Okay, so it's in my programming. Imagine.
But I can't remember what the question.
I'm helping you walk back down the path there.
And it's almost there. It's like, but it's not. It's like, what would it look like? What would it look like if I had a healthy throat chakra and I could fucking talk?
You almost burped right there.
I did. I think I did burp a little bit right there. I tried a healthy throat and it's like, that's how I'll just shrub it the whole time. Yeah, we got to quit. We just got to move on.
That's okay.
Because the more I try to grab it, the farther it slips.
That's okay.
So maybe it'll circle back around.
Because I feel like it is an excessive throat chakra, I also have been trying really hard to listen more.
Yeah.
Right? You're the number one person that I listen to. And turns out that's really hard.
To listen to me?
Not to listen to you.
I feel like that's the truest thing you said all day. Just kidding.
No,
What do you mean? I don't know
that
what
good,
you
healthy
mean.
act of listening.
Okay.
It's something, I mean, we talk about communication all the time, and it's something that we've talked about a lot, and something that you and I have worked on a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still like, man, oh man, when I am triggered, when I am in the thick of healing and processing and moving through stuff, it's a challenge. It is so hard for me to not sit and think about all the things that I'm going to say as soon as you stop talking.
You know, we've done a podcast on active listening.
We
should go back and listen.
Get some good tips.
Right? I've been struggling with that really. Like I even demonstrated it while you were talking. I couldn't even let you finish before I'm like, active listening. It's a struggle right now.
Yeah.
Also, Mercury has been in retrograde. Mercury is about communication. It's been like bringing those things up to conflict. So you can look at it or not, and all of the things. I think it plays into it. And it's not saying that if Mercury wasn't in retrograde that you would be speaking fluently, flawlessly, being able to listen, which is the key component of communication. It's not speaking, it's listening. All of these things wouldn't have been a factor. I'm not saying that, like obviously where we're at and our healing and our journeys, but I'm saying, and it's a component.
For sure.
It's a component, and it messes, like it comes in and like churns all that up.
Yeah.
So do you feel like you consistently struggle with active listening, or recently?
You know, it's recently that I feel like I have been struggling with it. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if I would necessarily. I'm not denying that retrograde Mercury, is a factor. Mm-hmm. But I think it has to do more with my healing work, and my inner child healing work, and how much I am. It's this weird thing. So if we think about it in regards to my voice. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think about my voice as this excessive thing, and this seems weird right now as I'm trying to flesh this thought out. I think the truth of the matter is, I talk a lot, but I don't say what I mean. Mm-hmm. And I hide behind my words, and I hide behind my talking. And I'll get loud sometimes, and I'll get passionate sometimes, and all of those things are masks. Because when I stop and think about it, Steph, when I really like, not just look at myself, but the way that I feel like I'm very quiet.
I feel like you are too.
I feel like I'm like it's not okay for me to speak.
Yeah. What if it was?
I don't like those kind of questions.
Yeah. Why not?
I guess I don't like those kind of questions immediately after I have a feeling.
Yeah. Oh, I see that. You sit with that feeling for a minute.
Yeah.
I get that. I feel the same, but I struggle in that space.
I do too.
Yeah.
I'm immediately like, why are you feeling that way? See the correlation?
That's how I can relate. I'm like, oh yeah, I see how that's frustrating.
But yeah, I don't feel like it's safe for me to speak the majority of the time. And then I'm criticized for speaking.
Yeah.
You know, the episode on the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say the episode on Monday, and then I'm like, is this Thursday's episode that we're talking on right now? Anyways, the last episode was really hard for me. And we were talking about it today because I edited it today. And just that recognition of how much I don't trust myself. And that seems so bananas to me. This still does. Listening to it and editing it, it was just really sad to sit and think about, like, moving through life, not trusting myself and what that has actually looked like externally, like what that behavior looks like and manifests as, and then what it feels like. Like I'm really able to connect to, like on the surface level, an easy way to describe it is just anxiety, moving through life with anxiety. But it feels much bigger than that because it's been so prevalent. Like I can, let's see if I can explain this without just repeating myself over and over and over again. As I become aware of what it feels like to not trust myself, and the realization that kind of really sunk in on the last episode, I have been sitting with the feeling of realizing that I don't trust myself. And I can feel what that feels like in my body. I can connect to and feel that sensation of moving forward, making a decision, making a choice, choosing an action, and not trusting it, and not trusting myself. So I know what that feels like in my body, right? And I'm really hard pressed to think of something where I've made a choice or decision or an action where I didn't feel that way. Like everything feels like I've moved through life with that feeling.
Yeah.
Not trusting anything that I've ever done. And having so much anxiety inside about the action and or the decision or the choice. That if I slow down right now and try to connect to it on this podcast, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that on the podcast. It's just so sad. I can feel it so heavily in my body of just the level of doubt and criticism, like the self-judgment and the fear and the anxiety over every choice and decision that I've made. And that just sucks.
Yeah.
So that's probably connected to that, that's probably the internalized criticism and judgment, right? So then it's much easier just to project it outwards and judge everything externally. So then back to the mantra that I can't remember.
Sure you can.
I'm safe. I'm secure. There's nothing threatening my survival.
You can't remember it.
Because that's the whole recognition and the realization is I am no longer that innocent little boy that was unable to protect himself. I am the adult man, not only able to protect himself, but I no longer live in an environment or go through experiences where my safety and my survival is threatened. So I got to reprogram the program. I got to reprogram the subconscious. Hence the mantra. Okay, babe.
Okay.
So
Thank you for joining us.
Throat chakra. What else you got?
I don't know. I guess I was still sitting with that stuff. I don't know about what else.
Well, what does it bring up for you?
Obviously a lot. I relate to everything you said. Mine is different. Like where, like we do that a lot where we'll have a very similar, we will have a very similar experience. It's like the same, we're same, but we somehow manage to do it on opposite sides of the perceived spectrum.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, same. Also, like, I know, like it wasn't a surprise that I didn't trust myself. It was, not only was I aware, it was a surprise, like to think that, oh wait, there's a possibility that I can. Like that's where it's, there's so much there. There's so much there. With like people intentionally programming you to not trust yourself and to trust them. And then there's just like all the shit that goes on with that. So that's like stirring up in me, and like we're here in this moment, and I'm trying to like not let that take over, right? Because that itself is also a part of the process. Because when you get swallowed up by that, I want to be able to keep talking on the podcast. And I think it's not that, like I just had a new awareness a little while ago, but if I get into that, excuse me, now, see, it's like now I keep trying to, I'm not going to be able to keep talking. So I don't know how to keep, I just feel awkward. I'm like trying to talk fast and hoping that it comes out of my mouth because it's not working. And I'm trying to overspeak my anxiety and wait for the actual words to come out instead of just being like, pause, reset. I don't have to, I need a pause, reset. I'm not here. And that was a very good flip.
By me?
Yeah, you flipped it. No, you didn't. You didn't flip it. It just, I'm going to start bringing humor and like flip it back now.
Do you think, go ahead.
Nope. Do you think what?
Oh my goodness. I was going to change the subject.
That's okay. We can change the subject. I was just going to start trying to talk again to fill the silence because you were looking at me and I'm like, it's up to me. Say something.
Do you feel like it's beneficial for us to process the way that we do on the podcast?
Do you want my feelings on it or my yes or no response to that?
Both.
Okay. Yes, I think it's beneficial. I don't know if I'm right.
Yeah.
But I think it is for us because we're practicing. We're practicing and we found a way to like move through the space like out loud, like out of hiding authentically. And we keep like fucking it up and learning how to do it better and keep going. And I think there are people that will listen to this and be like, what the fuck? Well, that's cool. It's not for them. But there are people that are listening that are feeling like validated and seen and heard and supported and like, oh, I'm not alone in this. Like, oh, that makes sense. Thank you for this awareness. So I think it's a good thing. And if it stops being a good thing, then we'll stop doing it. But for right now where we are, I feel it's still beneficial. And I get really scared.
I get scared too.
Yeah.
I was just thinking because it's like we'll come up here and we'll record these episodes and sometimes they just like fuck up our whole day.
Sometimes they do.
And it's like, gosh, how like it would be so nice to get through an episode of this podcast and not have to like process it for the next 12 hours.
Right.
And then 2 days from now when I have to edit it, then have it fuck me up again for another 12 hours.
Okay. So the question then is, do you think it's beneficial?
Yes. Yeah, I do.
Tell me why.
For all the things that you mentioned. I think it's beneficial because we'll take the throat chakra, for example, right?
Yeah.
Think of how beneficial it is for your deficient throat chakra to have to be on a podcast 2 days a week.
Reflect or like pause.
Okay.
My question was, do you think it's beneficial or do you think it's good or bad or however for you, not for me? Not do you think it's healthy for me? Talk about you. Is this good for you?
Us.
Did I? Okay, well, us. Well, now I'm changing my mind then. You. I know why it's good for me. But
Yes,
is
I
it
think
good for you?
I think it's really good for me.
Tell me why it's good for you. I'm sorry, I'm pointing at you really like.
Yeah, you are.
I'll bring it down.
I think it's beneficial for me because for so many different reasons. It is, it was that episode a few back where it was like the realization of, it was the 6-year anniversary.
Yeah.
Where it was like, I've been really dedicated to this podcast and disciplined and like, so that's a good aspect of it. I'm having a hard time coming up with words to describe that benefit, but it's like the level, like the work ethic involved in this is healthy for me, I think.
Yeah.
It's something that I enjoy. It's something that I love. It's something that I'm proud of. It's something that keeps challenging me creatively. I have to constantly, like I go through spurts where I get very not lazy, but like I'll just do the same old every week. And that doesn't mean necessarily how I'm showing up. Sometimes it's how I show up on the podcast, but the production aspect of it and all that other kind of stuff. But then I'll break out of that and come up with more creativity and more different things. And I like all of that. That's beneficial for me. It really pushes me to be genuine. Over the years with this podcast, I've had to really, not just evolve, but it's like, because I have this really mellifluous, wonderful, excessive throat chakra, it's easy for me to just hide behind it. And I've done that for a lot of years on this podcast, where it's really easy for me to share just the things that I want to share and share those things in the ways that I want to share them, right? And then just go ahead and project, and ask all the right questions to deflect. And I think, especially within the last 2 years, right? I think I've become far more, not just vulnerable and open and real, but genuine. If somebody listens to this podcast and has listened for a long time, like I think they've gotten to know me more and more and more as the years go by. And that's not just because of quantity. That's because of how I have
authenticity.
Yeah. Continued to push myself to show up vulnerably and authentic and real. And I think that's beneficial for people to hear. Like you said, right? They resonate, they connect. I think these conversations that you and I have, even though they will trigger us and cause us to have off days, sometimes we record and just have off days because of the episode that we recorded. And that's okay. I really do think it's okay.
Yeah.
I also feel like we haven't done like a lighthearted episode in 16 years. Like I don't even remember the last time we did some sort of silly
1943.
Right? One of those would be nice.
Yeah. Yeah, one of those would be nice. And they'll come up when it's time.
Yeah.
It'll happen. I think I try to have them more than you do.
You think so?
Yeah. I try to keep things like light a lot and moving, like at least in my head. I don't know. Like I try, and then like you're going deep and I'm like brr, 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 past it. And you're like, hey, I'm like, okay, I'll go deep. But so much of it, I'm like, I am
trying to keep it light.
Trying to keep it light. That's my own shit. That's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we do a good job. I think we go back and forth, right?
Yeah.
Lately, I've been the one that's been having hard, emotional, vulnerable episodes, and next week it'll be your turn again.
Maybe
and
not. I don't accept that. Don't put that shit on me.
I'll ask just the right question.
No.
I'm going to pause for a moment and look at you, Stephanie.
Well, when I try to do that, I forget my question.
I have a question for
I
you.
remember at the beginning the question that went away.
Yeah.
I'm still pretty sure.
What was
you
that
might.
question?
I don't know.
Let's really get to the root of it.
Knock it off.
Yeah, so we saw Top Gun.
That was a
Spoiler alert.
spoiler.
Spoiler alert.
Thank you for answering that question. Like you started off like I felt like you were just answering, do you like the podcast? Do you like doing the podcast? And I thought, oh, you're not going to answer this, but I'm going to hold you to it. And then you did. You went deep and you answered whether you think these conversations, these processing are beneficial for you. So thank you. Because I think before you would have continued to skirt around that and keep that until I got lost and I couldn't remember my own question, but you didn't. Thank you for answering. Can you feel any
You're
of this
welcome.
air coming on you?
No.
I tried to move the thingy.
The event.
Because here, I'll do that.
Hey, I don't need to feel the air coming on me.
Really? Because I
Yeah,
think
Phil
it saved
Collins,
me.
I'm all right.
I was over here. I'm like, God, I'm so hot. And then I felt some of that air and was like, oh, thank you.
I'm feeling okay.
So I'm trying to angle it.
I'm feeling okay.
Is there a vent over there?
There is not.
There's just this one.
There's one in this room.
Why is there only one in this room?
I don't think we need to discuss the HVAC situation of our house right now on the podcast.
We get to discuss whatever we want on this podcast.
I know, and I want
right
to go
now, I
back
want
to
touch
criticism
the
and judgment,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
I think it's a very prevalent thing in society. Do you agree?
Yes.
Agree or disagree?
Agree.
Think about the episodes in lately where we talk about some of the comments that we get on our social media stuff.
Yeah.
What is that? Criticism and judgment.
Not always. We get a lot of support and love too.
Absolutely. I'm not talking about the support and love,
Or we're
though.
just talking about criticism
Yeah.
and judgment. Okay, only.
So it's very prevalent in society.
Okay.
And I would argue, because now I'm apparently not a specialist. What is it when they hire the attorney? I'm an expert witness. I'm an expert
Okay.
in
You're an
regards to
expert?
criticism and judgment,
Okay.
because I now understand mine. So, or I have like the base level understanding
didn't
of
wanna
mine.
do
So
that.
that now makes me an expert.
Okay.
Hey, doodler.
Sorry.
So I think it is directly correlated to survival.
Yeah.
And that's why people do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you think your internal critic? I have a question for you.
Do I think my internal critic?
Yeah, you haven't talked much about your criticism and your judgment. I'm very interested. How does yours manifest?
I feel like I talked about it a little bit at the beginning and then I started stuttering.
Here we go.
No, you said next episode.
I am actually very curious.
I don't know. I don't criticize
If I had to
anybody.
guess, and this isn't a criticism or a judgment,
Sure. Okay. Why don't you say your mantra before you throw that shit at me?
I want to caveat this statement that it's not a criticism
like that's
or a
like that
judgment.
thing where somebody says no offense and then they say the
Right.
thing because they know it's offensive, but like, hey,
Hey,
no offense.
I'm not a racist, but
Yeah, the thing that's coming out of your mouth is
right.
going to be absolutely shitty. So.
Yeah.
So what's the criticism judgment that you want to throw at me real fast?
If I had to guess, so I talked earlier about how I have this extreme internal criticism and judgment of myself, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's like the super base layer in the subconscious,
Mm-hmm.
but it is protected by all of this external criticizing.
Okay.
So I typically will just project and externally criticize and judge the world around me and never make it back to myself or the base layer of myself, right? That's how I
Okay.
insulate and protect myself. And if I had to guess, yours is flipped,
Okay.
where it's like you oftentimes have a hard time getting past that internal criticism and judgment to even get to the external part of quote unquote judging the world or criticizing the world.
Okay.
Would that be accurate, you think?
I struggle very strongly with self-criticism and judgment. That's definitely my default, but that I'm not free from outward criticism, but it sometimes takes me a while to get there.
Right.
However, when I get there, it's like,
Comes in like a wrecking ball.
yeah, how you're not going to like, oh, I see that shit now. I can't unsee it. And then I stay pretty. But that's also, it's also when I finally like see the true nature of the energy in front of me instead of trying to pretend it's something better than I'm making it. So then when I like, oh, this does not fit in my space, then it's really hard for me to like, no, I lied to myself long enough. I'm not going to do it anymore. So then it's my judgment is then firm, which then makes it impossible to see it other ways. But that takes a while.
Yeah.
Like it takes a while. You get a lot of chances with me. And then when the chances are gone, it's not because you didn't have a million chances. It's not because you didn't have a million opportunities where I was blaming myself for everything instead of the person before I was finally like, oh no, this is your shit. This is your shit.
So see, like I would say, I think I blame myself for everything as well.
Yeah.
But I don't allow myself to feel that.
Did I answer that wrong?
No.
Okay.
You didn't answer anything wrong.
Okay. Did I not understand your question?
I think you understood my question. Did you not understand my question?
Well, I thought I did, but then okay, never mind. Will you give me that back that just flew out of my hands, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Only because I have cards for fiddles.
Thank you.
Or for my...
Okay.
Oh my goodness, I almost dropped it on the floor.
Right? It's just like it's a runaway.
But I think that's funny that we're on the opposite sides of this thing, where you can't necessarily get to your external criticizing of the world around you because that internal judge of yourself won't allow you. And then I can't get to the internal judge of myself that is running everything because I can't get past the external criticism.
Until it does, and until you can. What happens when you can? Like, yeah, that's like our default, but it's...
When I can get past the external criticism of everything,
What does it look like then?
then it just becomes a nightmare
Yeah.
because I am so hard on myself.
Yeah. So I'm saying until you can.
Yeah. And like, are you just so hard on yourself that you don't have anything left to criticize and judge the outside world?
I like that you think, or the way it's coming off makes it sound like I don't judge, that I don't have any external judgments whatsoever.
I'm curious. That's why I'm asking.
Okay. So things that I am working on, this is kind of hard. I'll do my best. I don't know if I'll be able to communicate this effectively right now because as much as I do like to process and, go through process on the podcast, there's a time where it's way too, it's not evolved enough or hashed through enough in the process to be able to discuss it. So this might be too fresh or strong in the moment. Let's see if I can remember what I was going to say now. Like that's a strong one of me. When I'm getting ready to like be, I will forget like things, even if it's like, so whether it's me or you or however, maybe I just forget all kinds of things. I just forget. I have very like, I check out of my body and then I don't know where I'm at. Is that ADHD or is that trauma or both? What came first?
Drama.
Yeah, I'm kind of at a loss here.
Okay.
I'm kind of at a loss. I'm going to try and answer the question directly, but I struggle at that. And this is a part of it. So you try and ask me it again.
Yes. Do you feel like, so in my example of myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
I criticize the external world first, and that protects me from the internal self-criticism that is always continually running. And if I allow myself to get through that external criticism of the outside world, and this is a long way to get to the question.
Okay, I'm sure I'll keep my thought.
Right?
Yeah.
This isn't helping at all.
It's helping.
I just wanted to give you context.
Thank you.
So I feel like there's a chance that your default is the internal criticism and you stay stuck in that space. And it's almost like you can't get over that hump to then criticize the external world.
Until I do.
Until you do.
Until I do.
But it's not the part that I'm not The part that I don't think needs awareness or focus is the until you do part. I think it's the realization that, are you in that internal criticism all the time?
Yeah, it's so hard. I don't want to say that because I'm like, I've done so much goddamn work. I've done so much work and it is so much better than it used to be. I am now able to speak. I have a voice. I set boundaries. I do all of these things that I used to not be able to. Not only was I not able to do it, I didn't know that I should do it. I didn't know that it was a thing, you know? I didn't have context that having a voice and setting boundaries was anything other than me being selfish and just a completely horrible person.
Yeah.
Because that's how I was like given that. So yes, things always go internal first. Always, always, always. But that's also how, that's my trauma, but that's also my learned behavior. I had a witness of that, but I had instructors of that, of where this happened because of my action. This happened because of my action. This situation because of my action. And to take it a step further of how, like, of course that's going to, teach me I'm doing these things wrong. So these things are happening. So as long as I'm criticizing myself and judging myself, then I'm hopefully going to make the right choices. I'm hopefully going to make the choices that doesn't cause pain. And on top of that, when other people would hurt other people, that would still be my fault because of me. I did this. This happened because of my actions. So now it's my responsibility to make sure I always choose right. Don't do anything wrong. Keep myself judged so harshly that I can keep myself in line to stop somebody else from feeling pain. And then further, I can have nothing to do with it. But if these two people are fighting, then their release is abuse to me. So not only am I responsible for my actions, which will bring me harm, for my actions, which will bring somebody else's harm, but I'm also somehow responsible to keep the peace between people that are completely outside of my space, because otherwise it'll still come in. So everything somehow comes around to being my fault. So learn not to make choices, learn not to make decisions that are going to be wrong. If I did this, why did I do it? It's so hard to make a decision because there's so much writing on it. It's like life and death. Every decision is so intense because it wasn't like, oh, you made a mistake. It was like, what, pain came, so much pain. And then when you try and defend yourself, I thought you get that's what you get for thinking. So much comes at that. Every action, like being told that I am responsible, like my actions from pain are causing somebody else stress. Like I'll just say it, like me trying to deal with the trauma that had happened to me my entire life and having a really strong point of the verbiage that I got was, I'm killing my mother because I started acting out, because all the things that I've hated myself for when I was just trying to survive, like it's so much. So it is always an internal. I still look at that. I hear that. I don't say that to myself in the mirror anymore. I used to. I would like criticize myself, cut myself down and be like, what, you're so stupid. All these things I'm not really going to say because it's too much. But now I say nice things in the mirror and I make choices. And still when somebody's going to be upset or mad or hurt, I still get scared. I still try to like people please. I still try to control the environment and make things safe for everybody. And hopefully everybody gets along until I stop, until it hits a point of like, I'm done with shit. That I will take on a lot of abuse and just really crappy, just horrible behaviors because I think it's my fault. And I will tell myself it's my fault. And I will continually try and change my actions and myself to make it better. So it's better for everybody else, instead of being like, I had nothing to do with this. I received this, but I had nothing to do with this. It's not my fault. And then, oh, you You're going to be blaming, you're going to say it's not you. Oh, I can't even. Okay, I got your phone and now I'm distracted.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. So yes, that is a deep, deep, deep wound. That wound has kept me so frozen. I still, when I get asked a direct question, you see it on here all the time. I get asked a direct question and I can't, I am so afraid because that was also like a test, like right there, boom. Am I going to choose right? Am I going to choose wrong? And I never really realized that it didn't really matter what I chose. It was going to be wrong. Not because I was wrong, but because the person that was doing that was wrong. And that's what they were looking for. So I still get scared to make a choice. I still get frozen. I don't trust myself because my internal dialogue was, this is wrong because of me. This went bad because of me. So that's my first. But I'm making more and more choices. I'm setting boundaries. I'm even saying like, I need to make a mistake. I need to get it wrong. So I know, like, I'm using my voice continuously and I'm choosing things and getting it wrong and getting it right. The dialogue is still there, but not as loud as it used to be. And I mean, sometimes it is. Sometimes it gets dark. But I'm doing so much healing and so much growth. And like this has helped. This has really helped. So yeah, I struggle. There's like a whole probably neurodivergent over explaining. But it comes in first. Always, always, always. And it's always going to come in first before it comes out. And if it's coming out, and still then, like it comes out and then I will let myself be convinced that no, it really was me. And now not only was I wrong, but I was wrong for making you feel wrong. So I'm just walking away from things that do that. But if it comes out, it definitely has gone through a very deep internal process. And I just keep being willing to fuck it up and get it wrong. Because now it's safe to get it wrong. I can do things wrong and not get physically hurt.
Yeah.
I can do things wrong and it's safe. I can survive doing things wrong. My body doesn't go through massive amounts of pain and torture because I do something wrong. And people around me don't go through pain and when I do something wrong. Like there's like that's gone. I'm sorry, I'm using my magic wand to talk.
Okay.
So that's just, I'm now in a safe space so I can get it wrong. I'm now in a safe space to get it wrong and nobody gets hurt. Even if somebody's feelings get hurt and then they want to put that on me, that's, whatever. I can fuck it up. That feels really good. Oh God, that was a lot of talking. Okay. So does any of that resonate with you? Do you feel like you can, like, does any of that come? I'm going to start drawing again.
What is in your
my
water?
God. Oh, that's a lot of lime and lemon. Sorry. It's good for you too.
There you go. You can take it back.
Are you okay?
I'm good.
Okay.
That was a lot of talking. You did a beautiful job.
Yeah. This was for next episode. So next episode, you don't get to ask me questions like this. You said earlier it was going to be next episode. You were going to turn that and then you made it happen this episode.
You did great.
I'm really embarrassed. We're going to move on.
Okay, we're going to move on. I think we've out-talked this throat chakra for a minute.
We have.
Obviously, there's lots to think about. Hopefully you resonate with some of it. I have one last thing I want to mention. I saw this reel. It's a guy that I'm not going to bother trying to figure out who he is and all that kind of stuff. That's not important. The concept and idea is that, like, healing, you and I are healing.
Mm-hmm.
We're going through a lot of healing work. We have this healing journey. We're doing all of this healing.
Yes.
Like, life doesn't become about the work or the healing or the healing journey, right? That, like, if we make that our focal point, then we're always going to be in the healing process.
True.
So then the idea becomes visualize, see, move towards what your life's going to be like when you're healed. So the idea is, it's not, I have to heal or I'm in the process of healing, because then it's like this, I find you and I do this a lot where we're just like, oh, I'm healing so much. I'm doing so much. It's like just this whole struggle of the healing work that we're undergoing.
Yeah.
And I want to start shifting and thinking about, like, what is life going to be like when we're healed?
If that's what aligns with you, do it.
Do you know what I mean? And I know that like the healing journey never ends. And like, that's the thing is like, there's this mentality of the work is always the work. It's always going to be there, right? You never get to the end of the rainbow. And you get to the end of the rainbow and what do you find? Turns out you're just never at the end of the rainbow, right? There's always more work to be healed. There's always more stuff to be done. That's very true. But if we use that as our constant thing that keeps us like small in a sense, or keeps us in this thick of healing, I want to live too.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're not?
Sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes, huh?
Right? Sometimes it just feels like a constant fucking struggle.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I want to talk about later.
Okay.
Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe
next week.
I'm going to say something.
Save it for the next episode.
No, I'm going to say
Podcast
it now.
over. Go ahead.
I'm going to, like, nobody has to be on this journey with me. You know, like, it's a choice if people want to be in my space. It's a choice if I'm going to allow people in my space. But it's like, it's a privilege. Like, somebody has the privilege to be in my space if I allow them. Nobody has to be. But I'm going to keep, I'm going to keep talking about these processes. And I'm going to keep talking about, you're giving me faces I'm trying to not look at so I can keep talking. I'm going to keep talking about this trauma because I was never got allowed to. And I'm going to give it and me a voice as long as it takes. As long as the process goes, because I wasn't allowed to, and I was supposed to keep everything quiet. And I'm still keeping a fuck ton quiet. I'm not saying a lot. And so I'm going to keep working through the process because it is allowing me to live, because it's freeing myself, because I'm saying, hey, I'm going to keep giving a voice to this because I don't have to be quiet. And if it makes people uncomfortable, then that's fine. They don't have to be around that. But I'm not. I'm going to keep going because this is how I am living, because now I am living. And even sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm scared to go outside, and that's okay. But I'm choosing things for me now, and I'm saying what I want for me now. So I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe I didn't read that. So that context, I feel like that's kind of shaming. Like, not you, like the meme, like making it all. There's a difference between wallowing in things and not moving, as there is of like, I'm still in the owning process. I'm still owning like the reality of what happened. Now by owning, I don't mean like this is now my story and I'm taking it on and I'm putting all these layers on. I'm just like realizing, holy fuck, like this is what it actually was. I'm not done talking about it. So I don't agree with that. Because I know how to live life without, going, I don't know. I'm not sure about that statement.
Well, I'm glad that you
rambled.
No, you didn't ramble. Don't minimize what you just said. Yeah. You didn't ramble. Rather than, I have to go back and look at the statement. I don't think I've done it justice.
Yeah.
And it was a real. And the concept and idea triggered something in me in the moment, but I don't think I'd done a great job of expressing it. So we'll do it maybe next week.
Okay. Also, just because I don't agree with it doesn't mean you did something wrong.
I know. But
we get to be in different places.
I wasn't intending the what I was saying and bringing it up wasn't the intention of like, hey, we're going to be done healing and talking about this healing process. It wasn't in an effort to silence you in any way, shape, or form, right? It was just, we can pick it apart next episode. It's okay.
You didn't silence me. I felt like that thing was silencing for those who received it.
Yeah. And I don't think I did a good job explaining it.
Or maybe I'm just up on a high horse.
It could be.
Could be. Could just took that completely out of context.
It could be up there. Riding your high horse. Right. I love you.
Love you.
Tune in next week. We'll forget that we had this conversation and not talk about that real.
Probably. So. That's fact.
We'll see what next episode brings.